everyone, this is Shivani from PlaceU and we are back with another innovative podcast. But I want to say that this podcast is really going to be different because we have got someone whose basic pay can cover CTC of many. Yes, you heard it right. So take your positions, put on your earphones and get ready to take down the notes. As this podcast is really going to be very informative because we have got our most special guest who has grabbed the highest package of VIT, Mr. Fenil Jain from Dyte.
For getting into the actual podcast, it would be great if you could give us a little glimpse about your college journey.
I also started like any other person out there. I did not have much coding experience, you can say. Yeah, just basic Java thing which you learn in ICC, but that's very basic. So I joined like a normal person. Initially, I had plans to do aerospace engineering, and here I am doing computer science. So there was a much of a conflict over there, but yeah, like I soon took up interest in coding because it was very, very exciting. So as any other fresher out there, I saw Thatarwal's video and he suggested to do CC. Get into Microsoft, get into Google. Like, yes, let's go. We'll try to do CC. So I started with some basic CC stuff, and I'll say I also started keeping myself engaged into academics because that is like kind of very important for me. It was like I decided to be the rancho of the college. Yeah. So like I wanted to do everything, whatever comes up. So yeah, I started out on with that. Then you can see like I got a turning point majorly when I joined one of the communities out here. So like VIT has a lot of clubs and chapters. So and it's very good culture that VIT is able to maintain. This is what makes, I guess, VIT what VIT is. And yeah, so I joined one of the communities, and that's where like everything changed. I got into dev, and so I started dev from there. I started coding from there, and like do you want like second, third year, fourth year, everything in detail?
So, like, this is enough. Like, we will go into further ones.
Good.
Yeah, like Bhaiya, now juniors are attending virtual classes, right? But you have had a transition from in-house to remote classes. So which one is the better among them, according to you?
Okay, so cool. If we're talking in so like this is a very subjective answer according to me. Like if you're talking in general sense or placement point of view, right?
Yeah,
so
placement point of view, yeah.
Okay, cool. So we'll go by placement point of view. I'll answer in the same sense. So okay, when you we'll talk about how offline placements used to happen. Like let's say a company arrives and they give you let's say a CC test. Okay, everyone used to be called in lab, and everyone used to give their exams. So there was an invigilator and you give it. There's no. Now there was proper invigilation. You can't now when the company representatives visit the campus, and then there are further rounds. Like online, it's completely different. Of course, like you get a link from on some platform, you give the test over there. You have browser restrictions and stuff, but still can cheat. Like now, like as we have reached over here, this is the main problem with online placements. The major problem is cheating. Like people most of the CC tests and like let's say ability test and everything, they try to get through with the help of their friends and everything. So this is kind of major problem. Now again, like there's couple of things like if you're lucky enough, so you do get through companies. Yes, this also happens just on the basis of like getting help, and if you're unlucky, you're screwed. So if I would have to prefer, I would say offline were much better. This is because like any person who has prepared for it well enough is gonna get it, like whatever be the case. But
That
like it
matters,
should not
actually.
yeah, and it should not take opportunities from deserving people sometimes. So that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, like now getting into the placements, you have got placed into a slot one company, right? And there are many slot one companies. So were you preparing for any slot one company particularly, or were you preparing for everything together?
So this is just before, like a few months before placement. I was kind of stressed out. Matlab, कि like what will happen? We don't know. Everyone is in that state. So as I mentioned, matlab in first year, first month, matlab nahi, first sem, there used to be something called problem of the day challenges, and it used to be kind of a CC challenge, right? So everybody used to do it, and it was a very very fun challenge. So the whole college used to do it, and it was a time challenge, like 8 to 9, something like that. So it was fun. So that is the time I did CC. After that I left it. Now was the time to again pick it up. I panic called my seniors, like what to do. Like, you got placed in Goldman Sachs, you got placed in JP Morgan, like give me, you got placed in Cisco, give me some tips, like what can I do. So they gave me long list, like 1 hour calls and everything, and I did it for few, like I said, 1 or 2 months, and I stopped. Matlab, pure CC is not something which I could do. So I was totally on the premise of I'm gonna go for majorly for off-campus placements. I was majorly on the premise of that. Like, I was not expecting any decent, like, dev company to be there. So I am very dev oriented person. So that was my plan. But like then Dyte visited, the challenge itself was dev and got me excited. So like I prepared very, very less. You can say negligible, but it was all on my dev journey. So not as per se preparation for slot one companies. Yeah.
Yeah. So, like Bhaiya, everyone knows like we can learn a lot from a startup, but many students have a fear in mind that can they start their careers with startup? So, we want to know, why did you choose a startup over an MNC? And why does one need, what does one need to see while making such decisions when he has multiple choices?
Yeah. Okay. So, okay, like this is like a typical startup versus corporate culture question. And it is asked a lot. Matlab, like, why would you want to go in Google? So, like, when you're a new person, you always hear about all these IIT people getting a lot of packages, so like crazy money, and you always feel like, we'll go in MNC. But like the like when you start getting into the field, when you start researching, is when you realize that it is not, this money is not offered to Indian students on Indian campus. Matlab, let's say if you're talking about Google campus, right? Currently, like while this podcast is recorded, like I think starter, from what I've heard, it's like 18-20 lakhs, right? Max. Yeah, if I'm not wrong. So that's what, like, this is not, it depends on country to country. All these lucrative packages are offered somewhere like outside India, in US and such places where the standard of living is also equally high. So like this was the whole like MNC for beginner wala thing. Now why did I choose startup? So like I started doing internships in my second year, matlab second year end or something. So like at that time I interned in different startups, and I did multiple internships, like most of them were backend and apps and stuff. So that's when I realized that, like, if you want to learn something, if you want to learn very quick, a good startup is important. Now again, this is very important that you choose a good startup. Each startup has its own nuances, and and 2021 is known as the year of startups. Okay, like companies have gone mad funding, so there are a lot of startups out there, but it is very very important that which one you are choosing, which one suits you. So like for me, I wanted accelerated learning, and there should be open culture. Like the culture should be very open. Culture for learning is very important. Some startups, it's such that uh, they'll just take your weekends and stuff like that. So you're working technically 7 hours a week, and which is like sometimes it's okay, but not all the times. Like I'm not very, very comfortable with working uh, on a particular stuff all days of the week. So that's something there. So for me, it was all these things, and that's why like I kind of preferred the startup mentality.
Uh, and so, Baya, like we all know that you have grabbed the highest package of VIT this year. So, like everyone in the audience is curious to hear about your placement journey. Like, when did you start the coding from? Like, where did you start it from, and where did you practice the data structures and competitive coding and all those things? If you could just tell us.
Yeah, so like I mentioned earlier, like the first year, first sem wala thing. That's when like I got inspired by Tatarwala and like other YouTubers and stuff. And like I was completely into CC at that time, like CC academics. So that was everything for me at that time, and that's all I concentrated on. So this was when I started major coding, because like coding which you learn in school is it's not something which will help
Which
you
we can
so
count
much.
into
हाँ,
competitive coding.
matlab, yeah. So that's there. So it's almost equivalent to me starting in college, like having zero knowledge before and like almost starting in coding before that. Like while entering college. So this is the time, and majorly like stuff like data structure. Um, I was not very, very fluent in like everything, but yeah, like that's when I started. And the DSA class itself, like, so what I did was like, I did not want to give NPTEL exam, but I really wanted to learn data structures. So data structure algorithm. So what I did was I went through the DSA course on myself from YouTube. So that's a very good thing, and I learned a lot. And yep, that's like something how I did data structure algorithm. And then it was not very like the way you use it. So when you talk about how DSA is important, people take it in a very important, like very wrong way. And firstly, like this is very important to distinguish that DSA is separate from CC. Like you need to understand this difference. And this is very important that companies are not looking for proper CC guys. You need to be good in DSA. That's all you need. And even if you go out there, right, like let's say if you have done CC for 3 years, like 4 years, you've totally banged it, right, but you're not interested in dev, you need to understand like this may not work, because at the end of the day, programming, CC is a branch of programming. Like DSA and everything came from. So you need to know programming. When you will go out there, no one will pay you for only doing CC. You would have to code in real life, and that's where all these DSAs and everything come up. That why you structure your data the way it is. And if you talk about compilers and stuff, why certain stuff are the place the way they are, like when you talk about ASTs in compilers, so they are trees, and like why you convert the linear structure of code into a tree. This is when you really realize that why DSA is important. So that's there. And so like I am currently revisiting DSA completely from a dev's point of view. So that's there. Yep. So this is pretty much the whole thing.
So, Bhaiya, before you were saying about your internship of startup, right? You were starting it from second year. So, like, what major role did it play in your career?
I would say it was very, very important. I'll explain you. So what happened was when I started, even till the end of first year, I was not good enough code. Okay, so like no nothing, almost nothing, right? I had my peers who were taken into the same IEEE community, and they were very good. They were exceptionally good. I was a person who just entered through CC. Yeah, by the way, I entered IEEE through CC. So that's there. Now, what happened was like they were executing well, and I knew nothing. So what I used to do, so the club members used to teach us, the seniors used to teach us. So what we used to do is, um, I used to attend all of them. Let's say it's front end, back end, app, whatever you want to teach, I'm ready to grasp it. And like that's when like I started learning. So at the end of my first year, I in the vacation of first year, like the between first year and second year, I just binged Udemy courses. That's what I used to do. Yeah. So seriously, like I binged like ML course, front end course, back end course. I made a Facebook noon and stuff like that with so this was very important phase. Now the problem over here is I learned a lot of things, but I don't know how to apply it in a proper way to outside world. Right. So the thing is, it's still kind of naive knowledge. When you talk about the projects which go in companies and stuff, and the projects which we make, there's a big difference in quality. Yeah. So when I started with internships, my first internship hit hard. It was a Flutter internship, under Pune company. So my manager was really good at coding, and he followed a lot of good practices and stuff. So he taught me a lot. Matlab, at that time, I don't think Flutter was very much known. So it was kind of early, like when we picked up, and like currently, though everyone is doing Flutter. So that's when I learned like what's the difference. So these helped me bridge the gap, and like when what happened was after first internship, that was the phase that I lost interest in UIs. I stopped making front end things. So no apps, no websites. I'm not making them. I shifted my focus to backend because there was some like very logical thing. So the best part was I learned Go and Rust at that time. And the thing is, like, there are not many companies out there which use them as backend. So now Go is like booming a lot for backend technologies, but Rust is still something which you cannot find like companies taking it up. A lot of companies taking it up now. So this was a niche domain. I knew Go. I loved backend. I saw a company and I applied to it, and that's where I got the experience for backend. So like my whole, like I had made small backends, but not to that level. So that's when everything started getting up. So I was like, okay, I want to do backend. Okay, I'll take the internship. I'll go 6 months. I'll do this internship. Then I got internship from BIT, like appointee. So I was like, okay, we'll do this internship also. Then whatever internship you can throw, I'll do it. Yeah. So this is the phase I started doing a lot of internships and gathering as much knowledge as possible. So yeah, these were like pretty important. Like you know what you're gonna do, and they look good on your resume. So like when the companies come to hire and they like, okay, this guy made this in this company and he has interned in so many companies, like he has a good experience. Yeah. So it matters a lot here.
So like picking up whatever comes your way helped you a lot, right?
Well, technically yes.
So Bhaiya, like there is a very common doubt among juniors, like which language to start coding from, and is there any upper hand of any language over the other when they are starting coding?
Okay, so this is like an interesting question. I'll accept, and it's been more interesting to me in like these days. Like, so I'll explain you why. So like from first I'll explain what I believe. Okay, language. Quote, languages do not matter in hindsight. Concepts are more important. Quote close. Here. Languages, at the end of the day, when someone is taking a back-end interview, they may ask you questions related to, let's say, if it's their company's back-end is written in Django, let's say, for example. So they may ask you some Django questions and stuff. But the majority of the questions will be on backend engineering. Like, what do you do in general in backend? And that's very important. Like, you need to understand that languages, technologies will come and fall off. Okay, the frameworks will come and go, but you need to learn the underlying concepts, why some stuff happens the way it happens. Web dev is a very, it's not very complicated, and you can of course get started on it, on a much lower barrier. So that's there. So JS and Python has the biggest communities. You can take whatever you want. very important. And it does give an edge, maybe it depends on the person, of course. But like if you're a quick good learner, like it does give an edge and you can learn quickly and get stuff quickly done. But again, it's like very subjective. So the 6 to 8 months wala thing, for dev, like it's more than enough. Like you can pull off really good projects, but of course you would need some mentorship and stuff. So actually, one advice like which I can give is to anyone in general is join some community, join some coding club or something, some good community out there, which it will help you a lot. If it has good seniors, they'll help you a lot in understanding and getting you started and guide you in a proper way. So yep, that's it.
So, Bhaiya, like Dyte recruited you for the back-end role, and the company looks for the relevant projects in the resume based on good skills. So they look like the project is fine or not, or they look like in relevant particular in which domain they are recruiting. The project is based on that.
Okay, so firstly, like the way Dyte came was it came for particular tracks. It was like, let's say, mobile engineering, then back end, front end. It came for tracks and it had particular problem sets for each one of them, like in the first screening round itself. So I of course, like having left the UIs behind, I went for the back end like thing. And if you talk about projects, yes, I did tailor my resume to like include a bit more of backend projects. So see, this is in general, right? Any company you apply to, let's say, if you apply to companies like this in general out off campus, okay? So you will for sure like get like there will be no general SDE roles always. You will get roles like we want a back-end engineer, right? We want a front-end engineer. Even sometimes there are sub roles in this. Like sometimes people want a person who's good in networking, not like networking that or networking, the wire to networking. Yeah, so some people want people very good in that. So like of course that depends on company to company as you go off campus, but you need to tailor your resume according to the company you're applying to. Like just go through the company, go through the job description, the JD which they give, and include keywords from that JD into your resume. This helps a lot. Like of course, if you center your resume around it, they also get a better chance at reading your resume. So that's much more easier. Yep, so that's there. So of course, like projects. Projects are important, like whatever role you are applying to, and tailor your resume according to that. So let's say if you have ton of front-end projects, app projects, back-end projects like I did, like keep a list where you have the top ones and just pick up in the resume. Like let's say I'm applying for front-end roles, so you go. But what I do is I always keep one from each, and let's say I'm applying to back-end role, then others. So yeah, that's it.
So, Bhaiya, like online courses, how much are they important? Like for a starter or a person who is learning a new thing, how does it help? And what are the online courses you would suggest us?
So online courses, like I mentioned earlier, if you're a new person, just go and do some courses. Okay, like it's very easy to get started that way. Like as you will progress. Now even now, so I at this stage I do not go for courses a lot. Let's see, if I want to learn something, I just go on internet. I just search for resources, and majorly like my focus has shifted from videos to reading material. If you give me a 10-hour course or some reading material, I'll take reading material because that's where I am more comfortable in. So in terms of courses, let's say I'll tell you what courses I did when I just started out. So between that first and second year phase when I just binging courses. So uh, I did a Udemy course on, I think it's named A to Z front end. So for front end, did that. Then if you talk about back end, then Andrew Mead's courses very good. Machine learning. Okay, so for machine learning, I did course. I did try to do machine learning also, but I was not good enough. So mm, I'll not say that course, matlab, because I never ended up doing anything. Or maybe this like high. Uh, so okay, now for Flutter, I did from Maximilian, and all of these are on Udemy.
Yeah.
That was the one go-to platform I had. Important and even branch. So like and a very pro tip for keeping a good CGPA is get a 9 point for your first sim and hold it like couple of sims. Okay, so why? Like as you start moving forward, right, like the number of credits increase, so that's why the change in your GPA, let's say if it, so there are no drastic changes, like the avalanche changes are not there. Yeah, so that's like very very important. So try to get and maintain in the starting phases, and this is what happened. Like it is my personal thing, like that I had a very good GPA till like second third year half, I guess, and then I start getting screwed by online. So like everyone was, yeah, I did not get a lot of S grades. So S grade is the best grade. Yeah, so a lot of S grades while in the online mode, which is, and my B's of course increased, but I'm still a 9 pointer. I've completed all my credits right now. Yeah, I'm still a 9 pointer. And that's only because I had a good CGP in the start. Like I just maintained a good CGP in the start. So like try to buckle up a bit.
Like where now let's dive into the selection process of Dyte. Like how many rounds were there in the total procedure of company Dyte?
So okay, now the way diet recruitments happen, placements happen,
Yeah.
but very different. Very different. Okay. Now typically what you have a coding contest, CC contest. Okay. Like maybe there's another coding contest, then there are a couple of tech interviews, then HR interview. This is what uh, general processes, like very vaguely. But what Diet came in, they gave a task. They're like, if you want to get into front end, do this task. If you want to get to back end, do this task. If you want to get into mobile, do this task. So they had 3 different tasks. And so for backend, if I talk about, so that's what because I applied for. They had a particular framework which they internally use, like this. Its name is Molecular JS, and they give tasks related to that. So it's a microservice framework, and it was of course JavaScript, TypeScript family framework. Now they gave a bunch of interesting problems, like let's say if you wanna make a resilient service, how will you do stuff? So it was a dev oriented thing, a completely dev oriented thing. The second round, so I somehow got selected in the first round. I go into the second round, like tech questions, pure backend plus DevOps tech questions, and that's where I screwed up a bit also in a couple of places, like I was not able to answer, but it was okay. Like somehow I made it through that round also. So this was like the 2 round, and I did not realize it was the final round. So yeah, something happened. I like till the results came out, I was just thinking that I got cut off from the process because there's no HR round. And I was like, okay, shit, okay, I've gone, no problem. I'm going off campus. So, but for the final round, what happened was they sent me a project, and one of the persons from their team came up, and we did pair programming. So, for people who don't know what pair programming is, 2 people sit together and write code. So it's not like both of them have the same hands on keyboard, like not like that something, but like one notices like what they're doing. So pair program is a completely different field, like it has its own principles, guidance and everything, but so like it's basically 2 people focusing on a same code base to make it like better. Like this, it's like I code, I introduce bug, and this guy is just seeing, oh you did this wrong, where is the null check in this? So he's like, oh yeah, let's keep it. So something like that. So I have to implement a feature in the project, and yeah, that's what happened. So this were the 3 rounds, only 3 rounds.
So where like there was no online test or nothing like other companies, right?
Nothing. So that's what, like, it was a completely different process. And if you go outside, this is the standard process, by the way, like not pair programming one. That was something new which I saw myself for the first time. But task, interview, and HR interview. So typically you replace the CC test with the dev task. Yeah.
So like Bhaiya, you knew what would be the second round before when you were going through the first round, you know what was to be done for the second round and all that. Did you start preparation for that also before?
See, that's the main part, right? So I kind of had a hint. Okay, of course it will be tech interview. If it's some other task, I'll do it. Like that's not a problem. But it won't be HR interview. It'll mostly be a tech interview. That was it. So now the problem is you can be asked anything from what you have learned in dev. Like again, I see it like before, like concepts are important. So you can be asked anything, like legit anything. So you need to have things in mind. It's not like this company asks 3 questions more. Let's just go to their previous experiences, learn all the 3 questions, and bang it. It's not that. A person can ask literally anything from his dev experience, and like even my dev experience. Of course, it's not been very long, but like whatever I had. So that's there. Like I prepared a bit with like backend and DevOps questions, some general stuff and like that. But how much can you prepare? Like if you don't know the stuff, how much can you prepare for that? So that's there. Like
So, Bhaiya, while you're in an interview, what are the particular do's and don'ts one must do in an interview or say?
okay, so I'll just tell you a very short story. Like so, what happened was I entered the round and I was like fully dressed up. Okay, like professional, and this guy in a t-shirt, he told me, "Why are you guys dressed up? Why is everyone appearing for interviews dressed up?" And I was like, this is part office, it's not a mistake. If some sir comes up and bans us from the placement season, we do not want to get screwed. So we are just appearing in like formal attire. Yeah. So this happened, and and this is how my interview started. Just think how informal it went. Like at that point. So we just laughed off that, and because they were also VITans, that's very important. They were ex-VITans, and they clearly understood what was going on. So, yep, that was there. When like, I've done pretty weird things in interviews. Like I've said "sup" to my to the person next screen in other interviews. So and like I've one of the founders was like in a point interview. One of the founders was very philosophical, so I asked him philosophical questions. So I do not know about don'ts a lot because I've given pretty chill interviews out there. But I'll talk about the do's a bit. So like try to end your interview with a question. Like try to show genuine curiosity, and if you have genuine curiosity, you will definitely have a question. Yeah. if you have genuine curiosity, if you want to work in that company, pakka you will have a question. So that's not a problem. And maybe okay, I have a don't. Maybe wear a pant. Yeah. I know it's online interviews, but don't sit in half pants with a coat and stuff. Maybe if you stand up and like, yeah. So
It was actually pretty good, Bhaiya. And then, if you want to add up something for the third years who are watching this podcast, and few advices you would love to give for the sorted placement seasons.
Yeah. For third years, right? Like the first of all, stop panicking. Okay, please. Like, I understand. Like the placement season is very very stressful, but sometimes, most of the times, most of the people get placed by just going with the flow. Like whatever happens, just go with the flow. Whatever is happening, like of course, like there's this is the wrong advice that don't panic, but because of course some of parents are very very not very supportive, and they're like, क्या कर रहा है? Why I have to be placed? शर्मा जी का बेटा गूगल में लग गया. So yeah, that's there. And like try to be confident. See, if you have one, that's one important thing. If you haven't started, it's never too late. Just start. In VIT at least, companies visit all over the year. ठीक है, Swiggy came very late and they came with a super team offer. ठीक है, it was not less, right? So that's there. Like so everyone until that point was placed and it was happy, but then also you had the opportunity at that time. When Swiggy came, they came late. You had the opportunity and you could grab it at that time also. So never lose your heart and keep practicing whatever you're doing. Like if you want dev, like go for dev companies. If you're going to go off campus. If you're applying for on campus seat, doing CC and stuff, do it. Like don't stop, and it's never too late. Like so, yeah, that's that.
So, Bhaiya, that was actually good piece of advice from your side, and moreover, it was a well-informed podcast covering all the ins and outs of the placement and your most valuable placement experience. Our complete PlaceU team thanks you for being here and sharing such essential advices with us. And it's great for all of us to have you here. And we wish you best for your future, and to all the pals out there watching our video, aiming for placements. Do follow Fenil on LinkedIn. You can find his ID in the description below.
Yeah, All the best, everyone. Bye.
Bye. Yeah.